So I very much concur on your, I guess, the aspects of what you like in a car. It's cars you drive. It's analog most of the time, but it's also a tool matched for the purpose. GT3 RS matched for track driving, 1M matched for backroad driving, and just going out on a weekend drive, Clarence Drive, going on Kloof Street, whatever.
It's also a limited edition car, very special,
very rare.
Yeah,
it's characterful, and you just have a massive passion for it. You can't stop looking at it. You don't want to stop driving it. So. Yeah, I guess that's what we're looking for. But what do you see people looking for these days in those type of cars? Performance, dream cars, and the like. And how did that change over the years?
I think I'm gonna preface this question with the fact that growing up in the 80s, or sort of being born in the 80s, growing up in the 90s, and over growing up over the turn of the century, is that my generation has been very, very lucky in the sense that we sort of saw the transition from sort of analog into the digital age, which was very cool because we went to everything from landlines and stuff like that, and cassette players, all the way through to Spotify and Apple Music today, which was very, very cool. And I think cars have been exactly the same way. When I grew up, what was really cool was that there was carburetors. If you had 45 Weber side drafts on your toy or on your race car, you were the meneer, But if you had 48s, then you were the groot meneer, that kind of thing. And then we obviously went into, fuel injection. After fuel injection, we went into obviously, individual throttle bodies and stuff like that. And the cars have been very much the same. So the thing is that engines have now become smaller with forced induction, and there are a number of reasons for that. One is obviously emissions, where we're trying to save the planet, and motoring manufacturers have to more stringently sort of follow Euro 6 and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So obviously smaller engines mean less emissions, and they add obviously turbochargers to them to up the performance, to compensate for the lack of capacity and size of the engines themselves. The other reason is because of fuel economy. And the petrol prices steadily increased, over the years, and smaller engines generally consume less fuel. And even in performance cars, we're seeing this go that way. Look at the new Mercedes-Benz 63s that are going to be coming out. They're four-cylinder cars. It's only a matter of time before other motoring manufacturers start to downsize those engines as well. And when it comes to the guys looking for that kind of stuff, petrol heads are trying to cling on for dear life to sort of petrol-burning engines.
Yeah.
Hybridization and electrification, there's no getting away from it. It's definitely going to be the future. It's exciting. For somebody that's like me, like I said, that grew up in an analog era from carburetors, to see electrification, sort of taking over, hopefully within my lifetime. It's really exciting. It's really amazing because, electric cars present a whole sort of a new avenue of performance. There's something that we never experienced before, which is instant torque, the way they deliver their power, and how amazing they actually are. We're looking at Tesla, we're looking at Rimac, we're looking at NIO. These guys are making, Tesla's making accessible, sort of affordable cars for the daily consumer. And guys like Rimac and NIO are making really, really exciting cars, for people like us, which are, performance gearhead kind of guys. And so the future isn't all sort of bleak. What you're obviously going to miss is the rest of the senses that get aroused from being around a performance car, which is the smell of high octane fuel, and the sound obviously is the biggest thing. But yeah, I think it's exciting. The way consumers are going in terms of normal people, in terms of what kind of cars they're buying, they want cars that are reliable, have longer service intervals, and use less fuel. Because the way the economy is currently, yes, there's obviously going to be a market for guys who have a lot of money to spend, that still want to live that life and be able to afford those really cool cars. But my average customer these days, with regards to sort of normal family people, they're looking at diesels, because diesels are going to be sort of, I think, probably within the next 10 years, you're not going to be able to get any diesel engines, in passenger cars because of the emissions.
Yes.
So they're looking at those, and they're looking at smaller engines, and that's sort of the current trend. But they want the M Sport models and the S-Line models and stuff like that kind of still look sporty, but have the smaller engines and a little bit less performance, but they still want to be able to look the part.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it these days too. Just thinking of BMWs especially, the 35R, the M35s of whatever model range, not the fully fledged M models.
The M lights.
Like call it the sport versions of the normals. Like those cars are so attractive these days because your performance is, over and above what you're going to need on a normal day for your average consumer. And also it looks good, like inside, the red piping, or like the outside, the bit of the widened side skirts, or, just stuff like that actually adds a bit of flair. And I guess looking at that is quite exciting because cars and brands will always be able to do that with new cars coming out, S-Line and thinking of Audi. But I really like, when it comes to older cars, 10, 20 years ago, the sleeper-like attitude of it. I mean, looking at even, let's say, E34 M5, right? You're looking at an E34 M5 driving past, you have no idea that it's actually so special as it is. I don't know if you have the same sort of view when it comes to...
Yeah, I definitely, the whole sleeper thing I did for a while as well. I found so much fun in that. And I think it's something that's always appealing to a certain sort of crowd where, you want to be that understated guy where the car doesn't really attract that much attention, but, the performance kind of, just takes people by surprise. I think it's always fun and it's something that never gets old. But like you mentioned, with I call them M lights, with the X35Is or the X40Is, which is either your M240, M140i, or sort of now it's the M135i. Those cars will always be in demand because, like you say, it's like having performance that's accessible. And that kind of accessible performance is stuff that you can use daily on the roads and stuff like that. Whereas something with like an M3 or an M4, you can't really use most of that performance in a daily situation without breaking the law or getting into trouble, So for most people, that's enough. And they make the right noises. The performance figures are really good. They handle relatively well, compared to other cars. So I think those are always going to be attractive options. I think where it becomes a problem is where you start to alienate the market. Is BMW had a niche. They had, with the M135i, they had the only 6-cylinder hatchback. And now with the new generation F40, it's now a 4-cylinder all-wheel drive, no more rear-wheel drive kind of thing. So I think it's appealing to a different market now, whereas previously, that niche was owned by BMW. And hopefully they bring out an M140, but even if they do bring out an M140 and it does have a 6-cylinder engine and it is going to be all-wheel drive, but I mean, that's progress, that's evolution for you. So I think the M140i is going to be a cult classic as well going forward. It's the last rear-wheel drive 6-cylinder hatchback.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see of modern cars. Let's say past 5 years, what are going to be modern classics? Because I think it's very different, very difficult to determine because the past 5 years cars have been technologically very advanced. I wouldn't say all cars were basically the same, but I mean, engine technology is advanced. Interiors look awesome. There's not a lot to distinguish, so I guess we'll see what really takes the bite of the consumers. But what's interesting with electrification coming is brands are actually now, I guess, much more in Europe than here, taking electric engines or batteries and plugging it into old bodies, or like, I guess, a classic Porsche or old BMW. And that's also something that's happening. So it's going to be interesting to see what consumers are attracted to given certain regulations and what we are allowed to drive. But going on to the last question, what is the most exciting new car you are looking forward to in the coming years or year?
I'm definitely looking forward to the 992 GT3 RS. I think I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to the Koenigsegg Jesko, the track pack, or the track version. I'm looking forward to that. And I think the R35 GTR is due an update. It's been pretty much the same car since 2006, 2007. I don't know what Nissan has planned for that, but really looking forward to that. And I'm also quite excited of the recent launch of the G80 and G82 M3, M4. I was lucky enough to drive a couple of them, drove it on track as well. Whereas the jury is still out on the looks. Dynamically, it's an absolutely fantastic car. And one of my favorites currently as well is the M2CS. Traditionally, I've always been a big fan of the smaller M cars. I think they're the most fun, and they kind of represent the philosophy of what, of where an M3 kind of started. Which was the E30 M3, and that small compact size with lots of performance, and the short wheelbase makes for snappy handling. I think that's always very exciting and a lot of fun for me. And the fact that it's still traditional, front engine rear wheel drive is always going to be an exciting package, and that's really what I love.
Yeah.
And I mean, like you were saying about the biggest thing now is like with the electronic overlaw and how good the modern traction control systems are. Apart from being safe, they really have turned all drivers into almost superhuman.
That's true.
Yeah, which is really, really good, I suppose. But then it shortens the gap.
Yeah.
In terms of who's really good at what they do and who's just relying on electronic overlaw.
Yeah.
But it's always interesting to see, sort of who the big boys are, separate the men from the boys, sort of thing when it comes to going around corners.
I'm gonna allow you to dream for the last minute. If you can take any car on any road or track right now.
Wow.
This could be anywhere in the world.
It would have to be a toss-up between a Ferrari F40 through the hills of the Alps, or it would have to be the McLaren F1 on a nice open stretch of highway with some corners. Those are definitely two of my dream cars. Growing up as a kid, had them on my walls. That and obviously the Lamborghini Diablo, but it was between the sort of unicorns for me.
Yeah.
As the McLaren F1 and the Ferrari F40. It would have to be those two, a toss up between those two. And I mean, I don't really care about the road at the end of the day. Just give me, I want to get my hands on.
Give me the keys.
Yeah, I want to get my hands on either one of those cars. I think McLaren is a special car for me because obviously the engine that's in my E36 M3, the S50 engine, BMW basically took two of those 6 cylinders, lumped them together.
Made a F1.
Yeah, and made a V12 that went into the F1, and it just sounds amazing. And the fact that car could attain that level of performance back then with those kind of speeds and that kind of thing, it was just amazing to me. And of course the F40 being the legendary car that it is, twin turbocharged, everything made from carbon fiber, and probably Enzo Ferrari is one of the last time Enzo Ferrari actually personally had his hand in building a road car.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I can confirm he's really a petrol head. But yeah, Ash, I want to thank you for the conversation. I think an hour is not enough to delve a bit deeper into your experience and your knowledge. I'm very excited to see where you and your brand also go. Continue being passionate about cars and spreading that love. It really ignites and furthers the passion that I and other younger guys also have. So yeah, thanks for the advice and the chat and the experience. I usually end off a podcast saying, rather love cars because it's better than drugs.
100%. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
All right. Cheers, guys. Thanks for watching.